It is the spring of 1520. You stand in the great hall of Greenwich Palace, bathed in the orange glow of flickering torches. The air is thick, stifling, and suffocatingly heavy. Beneath the sweet scent of expensive damask rosewater and burning beeswax lies a nauseating undertone. It is the sharp stench of sweat, stagnant urine, and decaying meat disguised with cloves. Your head aches, your stomach churns, and your velvet doublet feels like a velvet furnace. Around you, hundreds of nobles laugh, toast, and gorge themselves on gilded peacocks and sugar sculptures. To the outside world, being invited to dine at the table of King Henry VIII is the absolute pinnacle of human privilege. It is a spectacle of unimaginable wealth, power, and divine favor. But as you stare at the silver platter placed before you, a cold drop of sweat trickles down your spine. You realize a terrifying truth. Sitting at this table is not a reward. It is a slow, excruciating game of Russian roulette. When we picture royal dining in Tudor England, we imagine cinematic banquets filled with endless luxury and majestic splendor. We envision pristine tables, roasted venison, and golden goblets filled with fine wine. But the physical reality of the Tudor court was a grotesque biohazard. To understand the nightmare of royal dining, you must first step inside the great kitchens of Hampton Court. Imagine a dark, cavernous underworld where more than 200 men and boys work in sweltering heat, bathed in smoke, grease, and ash. There is no running water. There are no refrigerators. There is no concept of bacteria or cross-contamination. Scraps of raw beef, whale meat, and wild boar sit on wooden tables for days in the summer heat, covered in swarms of black flies. Dogs run freely through the prep areas, licking grease off the floor. Kitchen servants, drenched in their own sweat, wipe their filthy hands on raw carcasses before throwing them into massive iron cauldrons. To hide the fact that the meat was rapidly rotting, cooks relied on an aggressive arsenal of heavy spices imported from the East. Nutmeg, cinnamon, pepper, and saffron were not used merely for flavor. They were used as a chemical mask to cover the rancid taste and foul stench of spoiled flesh. If a piece of mutton was turning green, it was boiled in heavy lard, drenched in vinegar, and smothered in sweet spices until your senses were utterly tricked. But the invisible danger went far beyond rotten meat. The very vessels used to prepare and serve this food were quietly poisoning everyone in the room. In the 16th century, the finest cookware was made of copper, brass, and lead. Acidic ingredients like vinegar, wine, and fruit sauces reacted violently with these metals. As stews simmered for hours, toxic copper salts and lead leached directly into the food. The heavy pewter plates and goblets used by the nobility were packed with toxic levels of lead. Every sip of spiced wine and every bite of rich stew delivered a steady, cumulative dose of heavy metal poisoning. The results were devastating. Chronic stomach cramps, severe joint pain, kidney failure, and mental instability were rampant among the elite, yet no one understood why. Beyond the ambient filth and toxic cookware lay an even deeper, more terrifying reality: the constant, terrifying threat of intentional murder. In the volatile political landscape of 1520, a plate of food was the ultimate weapon. Political rivals, foreign spies, and ambitious courtiers knew that a drop of arsenic, hemlock, or crushed diamond powder in a glass of wine could alter the destiny of England in seconds. This created an atmosphere of absolute social paranoia. Dinner was not a time of relaxation. It was a high-stress military operation. King Henry VIII lived in perpetual fear of assassination, and every meal served to the royal family was subjected to elaborate, obsessively paranoid rituals. Enter the royal tasters. Before a single morsel of food touched the king's lips, a designated official had to taste every dish, drink from every cup, and even rub the royal napkins against their own skin to check for contact poisons. Imagine standing at the head table, watching a servant cut a small piece of roasted boar and chew it while everyone in the room stares in dead silence. You count the seconds in your head, waiting to see if the taster collapses, gasps for air, or begins to vomit blood. Plates were covered with locked silver domes to prevent anyone from dropping poison onto the food while it traveled from the kitchen to the hall. Unicorn horns, which were actually narwhal tusks, were set into knife handles because nobles believed they would sweat or change color in the presence of poison. Bitter almonds and crushed fossilized shark teeth were worn as amulets or dissolved into wine as supposed antidotes. Every bite was taken with hesitation. Every swallow was a gamble. You could not trust the man sitting next to you. You could not trust the servant serving your wine, and you certainly could not trust the food on your plate. The psychological toll of this existence was crushing. Even if you survived the paranoia and avoided an assassin's blade, the biological consequences of royal luxury were inescapable. The Tudor diet was aggressively unbalanced. Vegetables were despised by the nobility, viewed as dirty food fit only for peasants and livestock. Instead, the rich consumed an almost exclusive diet of red meat, poultry, organ meats, and massive quantities of refined sugar. Sugar was the ultimate status symbol, imported at astronomical cost. It was used in everything, from savory meat sauces to elaborate gilded marzipan sculptures called subtleties. This relentless intake of sugar, combined with heavy lead consumption and severe dehydration, wrecked the bodies of the Tudor elite. Teeth rotted into blackened, painful stumps, turning simple chewing into pure agony. Gout, kidney stones, and agonizing bowel obstructions were ubiquitous. When a noble fell ill from food poisoning or organ failure, 16th century medicine only made things worse. Doctors would apply blood-sucking leeches, induce violent vomiting with mercury compounds, or slice open veins to bleed out bad humors, accelerating the victim's death. A seat at the king's table was advertised as the ultimate honor, a golden ticket to power and prestige. In reality, it was a gilded trap that slowly broke the human body from the inside out. The grand banquets of 1520 were not triumphs of civilization, but fragile illusions built on top of rot, lead, and fear. The men and women who navigated these terrifying halls were forced to smile through agonizing stomach pain, hide their paranoia, and toast to their monarch with cups that were actively poisoning them. Their struggles remind us that beneath the velvet, gold, and historical romance lies a dark, visceral human truth. History was not lived in clean, grand textbooks. It was survived in the dark, painful, and terrifying corners of daily life. If you enjoyed this journey into the dark corners of history, hit subscribe to Past Legacy for more fascinating stories every week. Like, comment, and share if this changed the way you see the Tudor world.